All right. Hi, everybody. Safir here. I'm going to prepare some chicken thighs for the barbecue. So I'll be going outside and doing some barbecuing as well. It's British weather, so it might be sunny, it might be snowy, it might be rainy. You never know. But I'm going to prepare the chicken and do some barbecue. I'm also going to be doing some baked vegetables as well. I find it healthy. I'll also be doing some salad and some kind of Greek-ish style salad as well. So let's try to get it all done, and I will talk a little bit about religion and about my religiosity over the time that I've been alive. So first things first, I'm going to start preparing the chicken. So just some chicken thighs here. I will be doing a bit of ginger with it. I'll be doing a bit of spring onions. I'll be taking some fresh spring onions as well. Bit of basil. Red onions. I'll put the red onions with the chicken, and then I'll put the regular onions with the baked veg. Some garlic. I've brought in a bit of mixed chilies. That should be really nice as well. Some sweet pepper. And that's pretty much it. So it should be really quick. I also have salt and pepper, as you would expect. Salt and pepper. I'll add in some thyme. I'll add in a little bit of turmeric. And I will add in some. I'll add in some chicken spice. For lack of better words. Once upon a time, I used to use. Actually, I'll still use it. I used to use what's called soy sauce, but I use something called tamari now. Soy sauce makes me fart a lot, so apologies, but it does. So I don't use soy sauce. Soy sauce gives it a nice brown. There you go, everyday seasoning. Soy sauce gives it a nice brown, but I'm not doing a brown stew, right? And to be honest, once you mix everything up and get it properly marinated, it comes out pretty brown anyway. It doesn't need to be brown, right? It's food. You put it in your mouth and you eat it. So it is what it is. Anyway, so onto that, I'll also be using a blender to mix everything up, just because I don't want to be crying in the video. Not crying because of the passion of what I'm talking about, but the onions. So and I'm a bit lazy. I'm a bachelor. Allow me this one vice. Plus the food processor is pretty cool. I love to use it. Alright, so I will light prep, obviously. Light prep everything. Just get everything ready to chuck in the processor, and then I'll be talking a little bit about religion. So I started off, I was raised in a Roman Catholic family. My mom was Church of England, and then my dad sort of started out. I know where my grandma ended up. She ended up Adventist, but I guess Dad started more like Protestant. So they both started out Protestant, but then I was raised Catholic. So very Christian household. Jamaica, where I grew up, is a very Christian nation, very conservative, despite the fact of the excessive violence towards each other and towards people who sin, let's say. But yeah, towards people who are perform activities that they don't approve of, let's just say. Let's just leave it at that. Despite all of that, Jamaica is a very conservative country. And despite the dance hall and the sort of behavior that they do in the dance hall, but that's a completely different story. But I'd love to talk about it one day. Because dance is important, right? Like, dance is something that people do. Dance is something that people do, hence. But dance is something that people do to release energy and release tension. And with the poverty in Jamaica, dancing is a way to relieve anxiety and exercise, if you think about it. So that's what dance hall is, really, you know. And it's a celebration of Jamaicans' unique culture. And unique place in the world. Anyway, but that's part of the reason why I want to talk about religion today. So I grew up in a country that, believe it or not, is not filled with Rastas. Matter of fact, back in the days, Rastafarianism was very unpopular, extremely unpopular. It was persecuted quite heavily. By the time Bob Marley came around and started to popularize being a Rasta for the world, the sort of Rastafarianism that was happening in Jamaica was very, very niche, very, very discriminated against. You know, like, Jamaicans love a reason to discriminate. They love to find a reason to say this person is the out group, this person is the in group. And being a Rasta was one of those ways of literally painting a target on your own back for discrimination. So they discriminate against Rastafarianism, and Rastas discovered a herb that was brought by the Asian population from the Ganges area of India and from the Hindustan area. And you have to remember that Jamaica was part of this imperial empire, this British imperial empire. We were one of the colonies. Almost every person from Jamaica is the direct descendant of a slave, including the side of my dad's family. All direct descendants of slaves and all the experimentation that happened. And I would call it experimentation because a lot of Scottish and Irish men came to Jamaica and let's just say it nicely, had children with the slaves. Had children with the slaves, and that's why there's a lot of brown-skinned people in Jamaica, because of the having of children, and many brown-skinned people in Jamaica are because of Irish and Scottish men coming to Jamaica to have children. So there's that in my dad's side of the family. My mom, obviously, English girl, she did not, I mean, she came to Jamaica. I'm not necessarily sure she wanted to have children. Certainly not in the same way that the Irish and Scottish men and the sort of poor English men used to do it. But yeah, she met a guy fell in love and had children. Wow, man, the use of words. Anyway, so my Jamaica brownness is slightly different from other Jamaica brown people. But then being brown is a reason to be discriminated against and a reason to discriminate. A lot of the children of the Irish and Scottish men that came to Jamaica obviously got preferential treatment, and Jamaican people, typical sort of a cultural self-hatred element to it as well. They would also give preference to the children of these children of these British people. And then the other types of British people that came to Jamaica, aside from the Scottish, were Chinese people, who there were parts of China that were either being attacked or already fully settled by the British Empire. And they were just like good old-fashioned traders as well. So a lot of Asians came to Jamaica. And one of the many things that came to Jamaica, including curry, one of the many things that came to Jamaica was marijuana, right? Or ganja, right? So ganja came to Jamaica. Some of the, second generation, former African slaves, who became West Indian slaves, and these mixed race individuals. I hope you've been following along with what I've been doing. There's just ginger in there, spring onions, lots of garlic. I did an entire bulb of garlic. I like garlic, what can I say? Just pop all of that into the blender. I'm going to blend it, and then I'll pause the camera because it will be probably too loud for you to hear. So among the really Christian population, there is also this Rastafarian movement. Who the Rastafarian movement was inspired by the work of Marcus Garvey, who almost became this prophet, and I guess he's considered a prophet in the Rastafarian religion because he foretold of a black king coming from the east. And this is my understanding of it, and I know that I like it because it makes a good story. So Marcus Garvey spoke about this black king coming from the east, and of course everybody's like, yeah, they want a black religion. They're tired of following this white religion with these white people who are, let's face it, are the source of a lot of misery in Jamaica, both in and out of slavery. So it's black king from the east, and then lo and behold, during the Second World War, Haile Selassie, Selassie the First, Haile Selassie comes on TV as a black king from East Africa, and he's asking the what became the United Nations for assistance to defend against Italy, because this was part of the scramble for Africa, and Ethiopia was one of the last countries that were still free from all the European powers that were coming into Africa to basically just take a piece of it, and that's what they wanted. All the European countries, Germany, the UK, Spain, Portugal, all of them wanted a piece of Africa, because Africa was, it was undeveloped. It was easy pickings, right? The Europeans had Chinese firepower, gunpowder. They'd invented planes by then. They had all this machinery, and what they wanted to do is they wanted to find a place to exploit. Africa was there, so everybody's grabbing a piece. France as well. Everybody's grabbing a piece of Africa. Italy wants Ethiopia, and then the Ethiopian king comes on TV and says, please protect me from, or please give me some guns so I can protect myself from Italy. And there is a precedent, right? There are lots of countries, when the imperial powers were arming Asian and African countries against each other, the countries then went into becoming protectorates, right? They signed deals with the European nations to be protected, and by being protected, having an army come in and set up base and tell them how to run their country. So that's the protection that that Europe gave to the countries that Europe was invading and invading countries. So Haile Selassie, so Black King from the East Africa comes on TV, and if I'm a Rastafarian, and I'm sitting in a haze of smoke, and I see a Black King from East Africa, and I'm reading through my Marcus Garvey, that's what weed does to you. It makes connections, even when the connections might not exist. And to a lot of Rastafarians, it's like, shit, Black King from the East, bingo. So Haile Selassie, this Black King from the East, and literally the only Black King from the East. Ethiopia, which is actually the Aboriginal name for Africa, like the entire continent of Africa, or the entire land of Africa, they were called Ethiopians. So it was almost like a bit of a wordplay that Selassie called himself the king of Ethiopia, which is the small country. But he was showing he had your ambition. He wanted to become the king of Africa, right? So king of Ethiopia. Africa also had names like Libya as well. Let's not even go there, Gaddafi. So all of these things sort of played into the fact that the Rastafarians had their long-awaited king, right? Which was this Haile Selassie gentle person, and the followers of Selassie probably have just as much right as the followers of Buddha and the followers of Christ, when you think about it. Adding in just a little teaspoon of everyday seasoning, and then a little bit of lime as well. Thyme, sorry, not lime. And then a little bit of turmeric. So all of that sort of went towards this sort of religious movement in Jamaica, and that sort of hatched Rastafarianism. And then Selassie came to Jamaica, obviously on a world tour, trying to drum up support for for his wanting to protect his country, and and Selassie, of course, Selassie being a human being like everybody else, quite humble, didn't want people thinking he ever claimed to be God. But Jesus never claimed to be God either. So didn't claim to be God, said it, and of course not believed. It doesn't matter. The religion is a movement, and black empowerment is a movement. It's not like the facts are probably less important than the story of empowering Africans and rallying around this king of Ethiopia. I read a book that went right into the backstory about how the actual Queen of Sheba went to King Solomon, and King Solomon is a key point of the Bible, let's say, and of a lot of things. I'm actually practicing right now to give an oath based off King Solomon's temple, but won't say much more on that. So Selassie has claims a lineage that goes back to the Queen of Sheba and King Solomon of Israel, and Ethiopia both has significant elements of Christianity that is embedded well before the sort of papacy and the Italian Roman oriented papacy. So there's like a lot of real Christianity in Ethiopia, and there's a lot of lineage to Judaism in Ethiopia as well. So in a Rastafarian's head, all of these things just start to make tons of sense. And if you're smoking weed right now, all this would probably make sense. But I'm not smoking weed at all. I'm just making a chicken meal. So all of this started to make sense. The Rastafarian movement blossomed out of these sort of mixing of facts and realities and the storytelling that goes on in people's heads and in the global culture. But so I had Rastafarianism as an influence. I grew up Christian, and I went to a lot of really good schools. I went to St. Peter and Paul Preparatory. I went to St. Jago High School. I went to St. George's College. St. George's is a Jesuit high school. And as you heard, the saints, there's a lot of saintness, so there's a lot of sort of really heavy Christian influence into how I grew up. But also really lots and lots of education as well. So St. Peter and Paul, it's a very highly regarded, or it was at the time, I'm sure it still is now, very highly regarded school. Lots of really great educators there. St. Jago, it used to win Schools Challenge quiz all the time. That was part of the decisions that I went to there. And St. Jago being a Jesuit school, the Jesuits really emphasized educating people. That's why the Jesuits were in South America. I won't talk about what happened to the Jesuits in South America. And that's why they really tried to uplift people mentally. So, so all of that was sort of lots of religion, lots of education. So I started to learn about other world religions. I grew up in a household of, sort of intellectual thinking about religion and culture and society. So a lot of that influenced me, and I understood a lot more, and that's where I encountered Buddhism for the first time. That's where I encountered Islam for the first time. There were Buddhists in Jamaica. Didn't know a lot about Muslims in Jamaica, but I also learned about Hindus in Jamaica. And if you know about Hinduism, literally all over the shop, and there's like thousands of gods and ways of understanding things. So I didn't learn tons about Hinduism until much later in life. So I did all the Catholic things that you can imagine, catechism, communion, baptism, all the things. Did all of that, and then went to. I think this is momentous. Is I went to a Adventist university in Jamaica, and that Adventist university was it really like changed things. Like the antagonism between Seventh-day Adventism and Catholicism, especially in Jamaica, is out of this world. The Adventists, as they explained themselves to me, they were the true religion. And I've never even thought about religions as being true religions and fake religions. And they also believe that the Catholic Church is basically Luciferian, and they have Mark of the Beasts, and really, really like the worst of all worst. They literally are the Antichrist, and because of like Catholics worship on Sunday and Adventists worship on Saturday, that's actually a sign of how they've sort of done like evil to change the days of the week, to change time, etc. And there's a lot of genuine antagonism between the Protestants in the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and they believe Catholics and the Catholic institution are Luciferian in their actions, and there's a very, very like sense of persecution as well. The Seventh-day Adventists believe, and the Seventh-day Adventists come from the Millerites, right, who it was an apocalyptic cult of the 18th, 19th century. They thought that the apocalypse was coming, and they all prepared to go up in the rapture, and then when the rapture didn't happen, they came up with other dates, and the rapture didn't happen in those days either. So a lot of people sort of went back to being regular non-apocalyptic Christians, and then some of them decided, let's keep this going. Anyway, it was super enlightening to me to be part of that whole tradition. Just taking the aubergines and eggplants, chopping them up, just sort of laying them out on the plate. Get some onions on top as well. Red onions give a nice caramelized sweetie texture as well, so it's quite yummy. We'll make sure to get rid of sort of the outer skin of the onions. Yes, anyway, Seventh-day Adventists, Millerites, really, 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 very, very strongly into their religion. I think that was where I really saw very, very religious people. And of course, there's a correlation, right? There's a correlation between religiosity and poverty, right? And I grew up in a middle class suburb, and I think middle class sensibilities. So when the middle class tend to be a lot more atheistic, a lot more like, of course, right? Like, cause all the things that people want to enjoy in the middle class, good old Jesus and Moses, and Allah doesn't really approve of those things, because people should live humble and being middle class. People don't like to be humble in the middle class. People like to show themselves. So, and that's just a global thing and a human thing. And you can see, like, when people feel like they have nothing else in this world, they turn to God. And there's lots of ways to get there. for sure. But yeah, I think turning to God is something that happens when you find yourself in really low places, which is a shame. Which is a shame. You know, it shows that the world that we built is very much very much a world that's anti-religious. And in Europe, as Europe became more and more middle class, Europe became very much atheistic. What you can see is a lot of very poor countries really cling to religiosity. And for example, you know, the people in Palestine and the people in you know, yeah, the people in Palestine and some of the people in Israel, etc., really cling to their religiousness because of, you know, they feel really persecuted and you know, they feel like they have to pray a lot. And then once you get into being religious, you know, it can be used to motivate people in ways that are anti-human and certainly anti-religion as well, because, you know, you're not seeing turning off the other cheek, and you're not seeing trying to have a conversation, and all the good approaches to life that religion teaches. You don't see a lot of that in some of the religious approaches that people have. Anyways, so going to West Indies College and Northern Caribbean University, as a middle class person, I got to see a lot more religiousness and a lot more poverty than I'd seen before. I was living in a bubble until that point. These carrots look gorgeous. I'm not going to do a thing, just going to chop them up, chuck them right in. You know, I saw a lot more of the world, you know, and introduced to new ways of expressing religiosity, and, you know, really like shocking that, you know, of the antagonism, the sort of motivation that people have against other human beings, you know. And I think, and of course, lots of conspiracy theories, lots of Ponzi schemes as well, you know, like, there are so many. I've never seen Ponzi schemes until I joined this sort of religious culture, and people openly taking advantage of each other. This is my experience. I never experienced Ponzi schemes until I started going to you know, Northern Caribbean University and to West Indies College. Of course, I didn't really have the opportunity. I lived in a middle class bubble, and in that bubble, we don't do Ponzi schemes. I mean, the capitalist system in the West is a Ponzi scheme, but aside from that, we didn't need to set up mini Ponzi schemes. And of course I experienced lots of racism as well. Right, I grew up in a very out of many one people setting, you know, cause you had the middle class black people and obviously the middle class Indians, the middle class Chinese, middle class brown kids, and some middle class white kids, and some Syrians, etc. So you know, like, having money was more important, and I mean, I didn't have money, but, you know, I hung out with people with money, and that was obviously like money talks, right? and there were kids, so you know, it's kids doing what kids do. But then when I came out of that and went into the more, you know, sort of lower class of Jamaica, the poorer people in Jamaica, you know, a lot more of that sort of discrimination came from the poor. And now there's a bunch of black folks, and I'm like one of the lighter skinned person there. And yeah, people used to get quite upset with me just for being me. Which was challenging, because obviously I'm not from a plantation, and certainly my mom is you know, has the privilege of growing up in a certain place, and etc. Anyway, so yeah, very very eye-opening experience at this religious institution as far as religion was concerned. And I think that pretty much like made me just switch off religion altogether. You know, I was there to join the capitalist system. You know, I was going to sell my labor for value, you know, and my value as a human being is not through worship and not through aligning myself with God, but through aligning myself with money making. So let's just say, to keep it quite religious, you know, as I went through West Indies College and Northern Caribbean University, I became more and more, you know, worshiping America, worshiping the West, worshiping capitalism, as opposed to anything else. You know, because at that place, I felt like I was the one that was being persecuted. You know, like they didn't like what I did with my hair. They didn't like my personal freedoms. I felt like, you know, I was doing what young people do, and they didn't like that. They wanted a religious culture. So yeah, I used to get into a lot of trouble just for like doing up my hair and coloring my hair, and people used to get in trouble for wearing nail polish and earrings and stuff like that. So it was an interesting sort of religious approach, and this is in the 20th century, right? 21st century. In the 21st century, very interesting approach to religion, very, very conservative approach, based off that sort of Millerite Adventism. And yeah, I felt like I was the one that was being oppressed, you know, because I was the outsider. You know, I was this irreligious person. People were asking if I was Jewish. People were, you know, whispers about me being the Antichrist. You know, like all sorts of weird stuff being said about me at West Indies College. Of course, like, and you know, it's people without the levels of education that I was, you know, that I was privileged with, and I'm very grateful for my privileges. But so you know, people without that, and of course they come up with all sorts of descriptions for this brown kid who colors his hair and does shiny bumps and all sorts of weird stuff. And thanks to all the lovely people there that hung out with me and did my hair for me. I appreciate you guys. Anyway, so yeah, so I left Jamaica after a while, went to the UK, and full service of capitalism, full worship of capitalism. I met a banker, and you know, and she was fully into, like, you know, banking, let's just say. Fully into the banking. She was raised Catholic, I believe, and therefore we had a Catholic wedding. It was an amazing wedding. We had two weddings actually, like a civilian one and a like ceremonial one in a Catholic church. That was really fantastic. Yeah, and worship capitalism. Look, we traveled several times a year. We went to different countries around the world. We went to, it was all 5-star. You know, we were fully in the worship of our ability to trade our time in the worship and the attainment of money. And we both did. We both spent a lot of time doing that. And we didn't spend enough time actually connecting with each other. It was made worse because she spoke French. I did not speak any French, so it was extremely hard for me to communicate with her. And it was very hard for me to communicate with her. So after 8 years, yeah, she couldn't really stand being around me anymore, and yeah, sort of really had my sort of Luciferian fall moment where I had, you know, I was filled with all this pride, all this worship of capitalism and worship of how clever I was, and you know, all this ego, and then just had entire like rug pulled from under me, because yeah, like I grew up believing that, you know, you get married and you stay married, and you put up with stuff, you put up with some stuff, and then you put up with some stuff, and then you grow and change as individuals, and you have patience with each other, and you get to a point where, you know, all of the things that is bad about you and all the things that is bad about me, we sort of get used to it. That was my sort of belief until that point. And then met this person who I trusted, and she lost trust and respect for me. And of course, I had driven myself literally into you know, near bankruptcy, buying rings and doing really expensive things with her. But it wasn't good enough, and yeah, she decided that she wants to go, and that really left me, you know, obviously like super rug pull, depression, etc. And I won't even mention all the things that happen in depression, but all the things that happen in depression happened to me. But then what did happen to me was two things. One was I started reading the Bhagavad Gita, which is the sort of sacred ancient Hindu text, and it starts out with the Battle of Kurukshetra, and then what led to the Battle of Kurukshetra, and about the mighty Arjuna who, you know, in his meditation and conversation with Krishna, is basically invoked to do his duty, you know, and you know, it's absolutely beautiful, you know. It's like, do your duty, and of course you can understand why doing your duty as a warrior means that you're gonna have to kill people who you respect, and you have to do bad things because duty calls on you to do things which will result in bad things. And you know, cause I kept asking, like, why, you know, what can I do in life, and then the answer came from Krishna. The answer was to do my duty, you know. And it's actually three things, not two things. The second thing that happened in that sort of fall, that Luciferian fall that I experienced, was I encountered the secret, the secret's very cool. I would give total props to like people who really buy into that sort of you know, positive mental attitude thing. And yes, I 100% buy into having a positive mental attitude. I don't believe in filling my thoughts and my words with negativity. When it comes to people who use what's called neuro-linguistic programming, the way to really get on people's good side is to sort of frame everything in positive terms. Try to avoid using not and never and those kind of words. Coach yourself out of not using absolute terms like you always and you never, etc. And just a good way to good way to be a positive person. So The Secret, the Amanda Bynes book, fantastic stuff, and it's all about having a positive mental attitude. I wouldn't go so far as to say you're actually like shaping the universe, but it's a great way to think about it, and I genuinely think that the universe wants the best for you, and God wants the best for you. So I've chopped up a bunch of vegetables here, and just put a bit of olive oil, extra virgin olive oil on top. I do a lot of extra virgin olive oil. I'm going to put a bit of salt on it. I think I added a bit of turmeric on it just now. Salt, obviously, fantastic. I use Himalayan salt. And then the final one is I got involved in a sect of Buddhism called Nichiren Buddhism, and that sect they use chanting meditation, and that chanting meditation is invoking Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, which is the core essence of the Lotus Sutra, which the Lotus Sutra believes and preaches that enlightenment can happen now. You don't have to go through lots of different incarnations in order to arrive at the state of perfection and to approach nirvana. You can get into nirvana at this very moment. You just need to submit to the universe, submit to the law of cause and effect. Cause and effect is just a fact. You do things happen, and the more you try to do stuff, it's like an insect being caught in a web, right? The more you do, the harder you make it for yourself. Relax. Just relax, go with the flow, accept that life is teaching you different lessons, and enjoy those lessons, because you have this one life to learn these lessons. If you believe in that you can come back in another life and learn some more, yeah, for sure. If you think this is the only life that you have to learn these lessons, sure, that as well. Either one works, it doesn't really matter. But I believe that a great way of stilling your mind is meditation, and meditation is eons old. I'd say from the very beginning there's been tons of meditations happening. Assyrians, the Greeks, meditation is something that it works for the human mind, it works for the human spirit. Completely recommended by myself. Do meditation. Let me add some of this. So I have this big thing. So meditation just works, and through those sort of 3 religious revelations, and good friends as well. The communion of good friends is always appreciated. And there were a really good friend who I've known since the very beginning of my knowing of myself. That friend and those religions helped me through some very, very tough times, and very, very strong efforts of, self-forgiveness, forgiveness of others, seeing of the big picture, and understanding that there's a plan. There's a plan. You don't know it, I don't know it. No religious person knows what that plan is. You're on this roller coaster, and you can either enjoy it or not enjoy it. That really is the only 2 choices you have. And then once you realize that those are the only choices you have, and meditate on that, think about that, and you realize that you don't actually have a choice. If you want to enjoy life, you just have to say, I'm going to enjoy life, and you need to enjoy life. There's not really a choice, because the other choice is to not enjoy life. And then who the fuck is going to choose not to enjoy life? And I think that's like my only swearing. But who's going to choose that? Who's going to choose not enjoying life when that's the only 2 choices you have? Just do your duty. Do the thing that you're here on earth to do. If it's sweeping, then try to be the best sweeper possible. If it's communicating with people and trying to simplify this extremely complex world, then work hard and try to be that simplifier of things. And if it's making coffee, then be the best coffee maker. There's something that's amazing about the Japanese culture, and these are sort of Japanese knives, but a bit of urban as well. There's something really amazing, is that people, they work hard to just be the best at the thing, best at their profession. Like, not everybody wants to be CEO of whatever. Not everybody wants to be the top according to what capitalism says you should do. What they want to be is just the top of the thing that they're doing. Just be the best at the thing that you're doing. If you're a teacher, be the best teacher. If you're a farmer, try to be the best farmer. If you make the best screws, then try to make the best screws. Just do your duty. Life will guide you to something that you enjoy, makes you happy. Be happy. And then at the end of it, at the end of life, you either go on to a new one and get an opportunity to be something else, or that's the end of it, and it's all good. If you believe in the Christian God, then when God says, how was that life? And you say, what? I did a lot of sweeping, but I enjoyed it. And you'll be like, what? That's alright, man. Because when you live your life not enjoying it, you make life difficult for other people. And that's something that I certainly understood from my interaction with the world so far is that when I'm not enjoying life, I do things that make other people not enjoy life as well. And it's that cause and effect. You know, I say something that comes from the perspective of me not enjoying life, and then I cause somebody else to not enjoy life as well. Or I do something to make somebody else not enjoy life as well. So yeah, so that's religion, and my perspective on religion and where it's come from and where I've come from. And yeah, I enjoy cooking, so I'm here. Hope you enjoyed cooking with me as well. All of this I'm literally just going to blend right now, and then I'm going to lather on the chicken, rub it up, get the barbecue going, drop it on the barbecue in about an hour, because I have to make the chicken marinate. Like, a lot of Jamaicans will disagree with the ingredients, but they will agree that I need to marinate that for a little bit, get my hands in, rub it up really nicely, and then so getting that marinade and that rub is part of what makes the chicken so nice. Drop that on the barbecue. In the meantime, vegetables go in the oven for about it's a low heat, so I'm probably gonna put it in for half an hour, and I'll watch it. It's all about watching it. And yeah, and that should be a nice dinner for me. Ingredients for the chicken. Tell me what other ingredients you would use or wouldn't use. Tell me what I didn't use potatoes here. I used sweet potatoes here. Have more to do with the pumpkins. If you would have done anything else, tell me. If you have any views on religion and how your perspective on religion has changed over time, let me know. If you are happy and you know it, let me know as well. So I'll leave it there, and you'll see me working in the background, but all the music will be gone. So listen to some free reggae music while I work. All right.